Hello and welcome to our Mobile Viewpoint webinar. We're actually live streaming from our mobile studio at our headquarters in Alkmaar in the Netherlands. And we're here today to talk about vPilot, our automated studio production system. By way of introduction, my name is Mark Andrews. I am the Global Sales Manager for Mobile Viewpoint. Michelle, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Michel Wijs, Managing Director of Mobile Viewpoint, and I'm here to talk together with Mark about the vPilot and more the technical details of the whole setup.
So my plan, or our plan today, is to talk for about 15-20 minutes. We're going to give a quick overview of vPilot, and then Michelle will go into more of the admin panel, sort of the underneath administration and how it operates and how it works. But just a bit of housekeeping. We're obviously using Zoom. The idea is we talk for 15 minutes, but at the end we're going to have a Q&A session. So within the Zoom system itself, there is a place where you can write your questions. So please, as we go along, put your questions in, and at the end we will then come back to the questions and answer those as well. Everybody's on mute, so feel free to make noise. Nobody can hear you. So to begin, for those of you who don't know Mobile Viewpoint, as a company, we're based here in Alkmaar in the Netherlands. Since 2008, we do all our own development, support, and sales from here. But we're actually been pioneers in live streaming and outside broadcast solutions. So particularly live streaming from remote locations. So for example, news, sports production, but primarily over the 4G network. We actually have a range of products, both mobile, which go in a backpack, and fixed encoders used in the sort of the OB world. And basically that allowing you to live stream reliably and quickly over bonded 4G networks. Now the future is very interesting in this market. Obviously we've got 4K cameras, IP cameras, and 5G coming along. So as a company, it's a mature market, but it's something we're really dressing in, and we're carrying on innovating in that market space. But for the last year, we've actually been developing our own AI solutions, one of which is vPilot. We also have another product called IQ-SP, which stands for sports production. But in both cases with the AI technology, there's no camera resource, there's no director. Basically, AI is being used to control the cameras. So Michelle, perhaps if you could come up with the first slide that we have. So just a bit of a quick overview of vPilot. Exactly what is it? It's an AI system. So what we have is a camera. We have a scanner on top. So the scanner, it's a three-dimensional scanner where we're basically scanning for the people in the room, which enables the camera to find them and follow them. And then on the local network, we have our AI server, which is basically having the AI software installed upon that as well. And then from here, we can either obviously record locally or we can live stream. So we have a live streaming mechanism where we can push to social media or potentially back to a broadcast center as well. So we have web streaming technology, but also for broadcasters who are looking for this as a professional broadcast solution, and they require HD, SDI, for example, then we can also provide those type of solutions. But what I can do, Michelle, perhaps if you want to go back to the cameras, what we can show, okay, here we have a schematic of exactly what it looks like. So it's a network schematic, so it's all SDI. We can have a multitude of cameras, all PTZ cameras, so they're fully controlled, and that feeds back to the AI box in itself. But what I do, I have a camera in the studio, and what I can show is a bit of a get behind the scenes. So Michelle, I don't know if you can bring up the external camera. There we go. So this is the studio. So we have Michelle here. So a rare look behind the scenes. So let me show you. So what we have here in our studio is 4 cameras. So they're Panasonic cameras, but we can use any PTZ cameras. We have another 2 over there. And as you'll see on the top, I'm no camera specialist, by the way, we have the 3-dimensional scanner. And that in turn, they're all SDI linked. And that goes back to the server, which I mentioned. We've actually got it on the floor over here. And in front of us, we have our screen so we can see what's happening. We have a camera in the middle, which gives an overview here as well. But something which might be interesting, which I can show you as well, is how Michelle is controlling all the slides and the videos. We have something called a vPanel, and on the vPanel is where the talent basically can do overlays, they can do inserts, add images, run cut-ins, graphics, videos, that sort of thing as well. And it's a very easy to use push button system. But anyway, we could talk a bit more. I actually have a slide on that next as well. So I'm going to put the camera back.
Yes, you're back.
So just to finish off the introduction of vPilot, the next slide we have, I think, is actually showing the vPanel. There we go. So the nice thing with the vPanel, what makes it very easy to use is it's actually as a video display behind the buttons. So each button, if we're uploading an image, it actually shows it, the actual image on the button itself. It just makes it very, very easy and flexible to use. Then the final slide, perhaps Michelle, I've had enough of talking. You can talk about this slide.
Yes, this is more about the AI features of the system. Since the vPilot system is actually an SDI switcher, we are in the middle of all the video parts. And that enables us to also kind of tricks like this, like image recognition and voice processing and voice recognition. So the image recognition enables us to do automatic tag lining. So Mark, when you are detected in the studio, we can automatically underline, overlay your name, and that you are a sales manager with mobile viewpoint. And the same thing if people join on the phone, for example, in your live broadcast are not visible, but just on recognition of their voice, you can do the same thing. So just tag line, Michelle is on the phone joining us from Amsterdam, for example.
Yeah, it's a good point. In fact, Michelle will show this as part of the admin panel as well. Now, in terms of applications, just to conclude about the vPilot before we go into the actual admin panel, what sort of scenarios are we using and seeing this being used for? We have quite a few customers. We're a global company, and one of the things is like a radio studio. Often they're doing web streaming. It's not just the audio, but they want to web stream live the video production, the people sat in the studio and their guests and that sort of stuff. And again, they have many of our customers are using this in that scenario. But it can be used for a variety of other applications as well. So an emergency newsroom. In the current times with Corona, where we don't want that many people to be situated in one place, obviously we don't have any camera people here. It's all driven by AI. So just Michelle and myself, we're keeping our social distancing going on here as well. But remote studios, professional vloggers as well. But also we were at the ISE show in Amsterdam last month. And we get a lot of event organizers where actually they're doing roundtable discussion on stages, that sort of thing. And again, it's a much more cost-effective way rather than recruiting in a camera crew for the day. We can just set up vPilot. It is very mobile and it's easily set up, and it can be used in those sort of scenarios. So any sort of roundtable discussion where we need cameras, that sort of stuff.
Work as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So that's a brief introduction of mobile viewpoint and the vPilot technology itself. So probably the more interesting bit now is Michelle is going to go more into the what's under the hood and how we set this up. So what I'm going to do, I just need to share my screen, and if you just give me a moment. So if I put on vPilot, and I'll pass the mouse to Michelle.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So this is the web interface that runs on the vPilot system. So when you go somewhere mobile or in your own studio, this is the way to set up your system. And the first thing we're going to use is going to the sensors. As already explained, our system works on 3D sensors. This is a color image from the same sensors. And then you see over here that those depth sensors, like you find on airports these days when they check your distance between your eyes and your mouth to open up the gates. You see that we do the same thing, and actually you find people's nose actually, where we put on a red dot for visibility at the moment. So the trick is that all sensors see at least 2 people in the studio. So the bigger the studio, the more sensors you need. So every person in the studio should be seen by at least 2 sensors. So this is more to help you setting up your sensors.
Incidentally, if I have a screen, a monitor behind me with people on there, would it pick that up?
No, because that's the beauty about 3D sensing. It sees an image, a flat image, so he knows it's not a head, but an image on a screen, for example.
Okay.
Or on a background of somebody else walking around. So over here you see again the same setup, but this page is meant for the calibration. So when you put this up fixed in a studio, you run this once and then never again. But if you are mobile, every time you set up the system has to learn its position the cameras and the sensors. So what you do over here is you push the start calibration button and then you walk around in the studio and all the sensors see you and then they automatically calculate the position of each other, enable you to find people really on an XY measurement in the studio. So if this is done, it takes a few minutes, then you actually can go, because most stuff you will see now is already most time pre-configured, like the seats. So in every studio you have seats. Also when you are mobile, when you go somewhere, there are seats. So the presenter and the interview, or also a guest for another guest. And those seats you see over here are the green squares. So these are seats. This is Mark and this is myself. And since I'm talking, you see a round circle over here. And these are actually the cameras. So you see also the position of our 4 cameras. And you see now, if I step out of my chair, you will see that my green box will get gray, and indicating that I'm not anymore there. And also, we will not get shots for me anymore, although I'm still talking. So when I'm back, you will see my head appearing, and it will light up. And those seats you can change. Actually, you can change the size of the seat. I will show you how to do this. So I take the slider, and I'm making my seat very big. And that is, for example, very, very interesting when you do, for example, classrooms or round table discussions on a stage, for example. Then you want to follow people in a bigger part than we do today behind the desk. And over here you can define as many seats as you want. So in this case, it's 2, but it can also be 10 or 15 or as much as you want. The next configuration part is the cameras. Now over here you see small thumbnails of all the cameras we have. On the right side, you see the mobile camera we have Mark showed, and these are the other 5 cameras. 4 of them are PTZ cameras, and we have 1 static center camera, which is a wide-angle camera. You see that over here you use Panasonic, but actually on this location you can select for any camera that at least supports Visca PTZ controls, because that's what the system is based on, and next to it, it supports Panasonic PTZ control. So, and over here you see some IP configuration, but if you did set up at once, you never have to go here anymore. Also when you're mobile, you always use the same IP numbers, the same cameras. Then we go for the camera calibration. Now, this is interesting in the sense that in our studio over here, and also when you're mobile, we recommend it that you put the sensors on the same position as the cameras. And over here we do that. The sensors are 26 centimeters above the camera, so the camera is 26 centimeters below the sensor, and you do that for all the cameras. That makes it easy for setup. You don't have to. You can also spread it, and then you still have to fill in the delta X and delta Y of the camera compared to the sensor. So it's more for fixed setups. The next thing is the shots. And with the shots, the real director comes in again. Although we replace the director, the system has to be set up once with the right shots for the different persons. So over here, the director can make shots, and I will show you how it works. I will, example, take this shot. This is myself, and over here I can actually change, for example, the pan or the zoom of the tilt. Over here I can do, you see the zoom. So now I'm zoomed out, and so I can zoom in again. And over here you can define the position of the camera shot compared to my nose. So we find your nose, and over here we define the delta, the difference, to make it an interesting shot, and also the zoom levels. And I can do that over here for different, also for us together. And actually you can see that over here as well. So this is, for example, a shot for Mark. If I click on it, you will see it goes over here, and here I can change the shot of Mark. And you can make as many shots as you want. There is no physical limit. The only thing is that you have to keep in mind, if you make too many shots, it gets really a bit awkward. You see a lot of shifting around. And of course, that is not really how a professional broadcast should look like. The next step is the audio tab. In the audio tab, you define all the audio sources in the vPilot. And that audio sources can be, in this case, it is Ravenna, but it can be Dante, it can be AES67, but it can also be analog. The vPilot supports analog audio inputs. In this case, it's Ravenna. And over here, you see my microphone, and this is Mark. And this is just other sources you can define. And it does not have to be a microphone. It can be actually also an external audio device or a phone line. Actually, it doesn't mind. And the audio levels, as you can see over here, are used to trigger which person should get shots. So if more people are talking, you get a difference in shots between the different people talking, and overview shots, for example. And over here, you can see a little bit more detail of the configuration. And the first thing that is really interesting is the level you want to define as people are really talking, and this in this case 2500, 2500, and this is actually the level that people stop talking. And this level has to be, of course, as people just to inhale some.
So if I coughed or something, it wouldn't go to.
Cough is perhaps a little bit hard, but it's more that people just taking some breath.
Yep.
They are not above this level, so they won't get seen as an active speaker. And this is, of course, meant the lowest level is made for people start a little bit softer. So they start out loud and then they speak a little bit lower, but above this level, it will stay an interesting speaker. Over here, you have the attack and release time. The attack time is indeed for the coughing. So you need to be at least 0.4 seconds coughing before you really get a live shot. And over here is the amount of time in seconds that people have to stop talking before they not see anymore as an active speaker in the studio.
So in this case, as long as I cough less than 0.4 of a second, it won't come.
It won't get.
Yes.
So I think 0.4 is perhaps a little bit low. Now I'm thinking about it, it's perhaps a little bit higher. But that's something for a director to define. The next step is actually the director config. And the director config looks perhaps a little bit difficult, but it's very easy. I will explain. Actually, two settings, automatic and manually. If you do automatic, then the vPilot standard settings are used, but we recommend that you really set it up and you choose for manual. How does it work? Over here, you select the speaker you want to define shots for. In this case, I take myself. And over here, you define the relevance of the speaker. And in our case, everything is 0. But if you think about a round table discussion, you should give this figure a figure about 1 to 10. And the higher the figure, the more shots you get from the speaker. And this is also very important in roundtable discussions, that you can overcome that guests are hijacking the whole broadcast. So if you start interfering with the discussion, you get the shots as presenter. Over here, you can again define the attack time and the release time for this specific seat. So some people can cough more than others. And over here, you can also do the maximum and minimum time of the amount of the duration of the shot. And this is over here that you don't get the whole time the same length of every shot. That looks very unprofessional. So there is some variation you automatically select from. And over here is the minimum time of a shot. If you put this too low, you get a very aggressive switching of the camera. And that's, of course, for a hit radio station, very interesting. But for a talk show or a news broadcast, you want to keep it a little bit longer. And it's something you can define for all the individual seats, but also together, as you can see. So over here, you see 2 shots of us together. And also you can, for example, do other things that we are not used over here. But actually, you can define groups. And for those groups together, you can see all the shots. And then you can define all the settings per person, actually.
So I think it's important to emphasize the cameras are not just switching because we're talking. There's a whole director.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of settings behind it. And I already thought it looks a little bit difficult, perhaps. But if you use it, it's very easy. You just set some settings and then you try it out. You see right away what you did. Yeah. So if you make this too long, the maximum minimum time, and I just stop talking and you start talking, it takes 2 seconds before you get in vision. If I make it 10 seconds, it's too long. You see right away, oh, it takes too long time to get Mark in vision, although he's already talking for some time.
Maybe, yep.
Over here you can define overlays, and this is something very interesting if you want to, for example, add a logo. I can make it over here, so I put in some uploaded JPEGs, and I do apply overlay, and now you see I will get an overlay. And this is something for titles or for just some branding. And it's very handy. You can also clear the overlay again. And the whole overlay is done actually using Casper CG. There's a Casper CG engine under the hood for people knowing it. It's an open source overlay system based on HTML5. And we totally integrated it, also made it safe because it's HTML5. It allows also for the injection of scripts. But we engineered that completely, that it's purely safe. And then you can create your own overlays, static. And if you want to do dynamic overlays, we recommend you that you upload over here your HTML5 overlay, which can have ticker tapes, picture-in-picture, all kinds of things like weather updates, and everything is possible what you can make with HTML5 and JavaScript. The next thing is media. Now, media, you already did see that happening. Over here, you can upload pictures and videos, and those pictures and videos get automatically in the vPanel as small buttons So they are rendered over here. So that also enables the talent to play items, but also to show slides and change overlays, for example. This can be done remotely, so your production assistant can be at home while enabling new videos and new stuff in your vPanel, which you can set live as a talent. And the content can be anything for JPEG, PNGs, MP4, so we support a wide range of content you can upload. Over here, you can define, actually, that I already talked about, is a taglining. So over here, you can upload at least about 20 pictures of a head. And as soon as the system recognizes that head, it will also automatically put the tagline you define over here. And of course, you can build up a whole collection of people. So anytime they enter the studio, you can automatically get the tagline shown. The next thing is the advanced tab. Now, the advanced tab, I will not spend too much time on it, but that's an overall setting of the director, the attack, and the release time. You'll see again the minimum, maximum time shots. So if you did not fill any details for specific seats and persons in your director configuration, this will then be the default chosen. Over here we have the static director. Over here you can make manage the system manuals. Over here I can just select the camera and do everything manual, and you can go back to auto. And that's, for example, very convenient if you have somebody in the studio that you want to put the camera full time on. For example, the Prime Minister is visiting you, and then you only want to show him, and then you can interrupt over here. The video is actually thumbnails, moving thumbnails. That will also become available as real videos, but we did choose thumbnails because then it's easier to control the system remotely, because you need less bandwidth using thumbnails. And then, by the way, you can also actually remotely control the PTZ, so you can control the camera as well remotely. The last thing I want to show you is actually under the hood screen, the director autonomy, as we call it. And what you see over here, Mark, is actually all the decisions the AI, the director, takes. And this helps you actually to set up the system. Because when you play around with this attack and release time settings, you will see sometimes shots, think, hey, how is this happening? And over here, you can read out which decision the system took. And it also helps you to more detailed configure your whole director setup. So this also learns you how your settings influence the director's decisions. And it's very easy for debugging, I would almost say, but actually also configuring your whole director settings.
So we're looking inside the brain of the AI.
Yeah, this is the dump of the brain, yes,
yeah.
with timestamps, so you can see on the detail on the second when things happen. So when you watch your recorded video, you can actually see over here with what happened at which time shot.
Okay.
And then in the end, this is complete, and then you see again our 3D room where we are sitting and doing our presentation.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks, Michel. So that sort of concludes the overview of the admin panel. What I'm planning to do now, hopefully we have some questions where people have engaged. So just give me a second. I'm just going to click on the Q&A box. So first question. I think you mentioned the cameras, but which cameras? Can we support any PTZ camera? Or?
Yeah, any PTZ camera supporting Visca over IP. And Visca is just a PTZ control protocol used quite a lot, invented by Sony. So by default, we also support Sony cameras and the Panasonics, Aventum, but also any Chinese or other brand available in the market, as long as it supports Visca. Okay.
In terms of a mobile setup, can we use it as a mobile setup, and how quickly does it take to set up?
Now, as I already explained during the presentation a few times, it's very easy to set up with mobile. You already seen it over here. We combine a sensor and a camera on one tripod. So you just put up your tripods in the studio or in the room of the CEO you want to interview. You set it up, you do your walk around of a few minutes, the system calibrates itself, and then you're ready to go, because already you did put in the shots and the seats already up front. You only have to fine tune the location of the seats and tune the shots a little bit, the zoom most times. Then off you go.
So within an hour, you're
within an hour, yes, at least. Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. Our friends from Brabant, they say we have an older setup. Is this setup, is this admin panel new, and is it available now?
No, the admin panel, yeah, it's available now.
Okay.
The planned release was NAB time, which is now. So we're going to release that official version within the next week.
Okay, yes, it was planned for NAB, but sadly it didn't happen. But yeah, we still go ahead, business as normal. How many cameras can I have in one studio connected
Now,
to the
the
AI?
basic vPilot system had 8 SDI connectors. That means you can have 7 inputs and 1 output, of course. But you can also choose to have more outputs, so less inputs, and then you can control, for example, a backdrop screen with one of the outputs. So put slides over here telling what we are doing, for example. You can also buy the system with more SDI inputs. You can actually go all the way up to 24, but then, yeah, then you can have 23 cameras.
Okay. And do we need a sensor for every camera?
No. You need on a studio, you need at least 3 sensors. But if you have a bigger studio, so the range of a sensor is about 7 meters. So if your studio is bigger, then you need more sensors, of course, to cover your complete studio.
Okay. And does the sensor need to be with the camera, or can it be anywhere in the room?
No, it can be separate. If you do a mobile setup, I recommend to keep it on the same location. Then it's easier for the setup. But if you do a fixed installation, you can just put the sensors on the ceiling and the cameras on ground level, for example.
Okay. And in terms of a size of studio, I guess it depends on this.
Yeah, this is a 4x3 studio, so that is an easy one. And as I said, if you go bigger than 7 meters, you need just think about more sensors.
In terms of audio, what is the microphone input? I guess we're using wireless microphones. But
yeah, we're using wireless microphones over here, but in the end they go to an analog to Ravenna converter, because our receivers are analog for these wireless microphones. But if you have them, you can also go directly digital. If your receiver is writing video audio over IP, you can use that one.
Okay. Can it all be managed remotely by a single person?
Yes. Now, actually, the talent can do the live broadcast himself. By using the vPanel, he can start items and start overlays. And of course, you need at least one assistant remotely to enable to upload content that you during your presentation or help you preparing. But if you go for an interview to a CEO's office, you can do it totally on your own. You need nobody else. That's
true. And in fact, obviously, most people working from home at the moment, we had one of our developers upload our slides for us remotely. So, yeah. It is true. Presets. Can we have presets? Obviously, they set everything up. Is it possible to have different presets?
Yeah, you can also do presets. So you can actually configure the system for different setups, like a talk show or just a news broadcast as we do today. You just choose a different configuration and that you upload it to the system, and then just uses the new setup.
Okay. Well, I do believe that's it. In terms of questions.
Mark, I see a new question about if you also support NDA or only SDI.
Yes.
You support both flavors.
Yes.
So by nature, we do SDI at the moment because that is available. Many customers almost already have those cameras. So we want to enable them to reuse their existing PTZ cameras. But we also will, we actually already do support NDI in our WMT systems. But we also will support it on the vPilot system. Actually, it makes it cheaper because you don't need the hardware interfaces.
Sure. And I guess if anybody wants to live stream, in a remote location, that's when our live streaming encoders come into play. So we can obviously live stream over the LAN, Wi-Fi, 4G, whatever you need to do. And then at the receiving end, we can create an HD SDI or a range of different IP flavors as well, depending on the workflow requirements. Good. Okay. Well, what I would say is, Michelle, perhaps the last slide, if possible. It does have my email address on there. So if you've got any questions, feel free to email me, m.andrews@mobileviewpoint.com. As I mentioned at the very start, we're a global organization. We have resellers and distributors throughout the world. So, please feel free. We can put you in touch with our local distributors who can certainly help and support in your territory. I think that concludes what we have to say today. So I would just like to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, and we have a whole range of more webinars coming up as well. Again, contact me if you're interested in more. Then our next webinar is actually about working in remote locations, specifically from home. We actually have a new announcement, a new product that we'll be showing as well, known as Trolley Live. So please, if you have time, join us. And until then, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining. Please stay safe. And until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you very much.